Welcome back to Cleats Court Podcast. I am your host, Lucas Forstner. Alongside me today is my co-host, Taylor Woelfel. How's it going, Taylor?
Good. How are you, Lucas?
Doing great. Ready to kick off our first ever episode. Excited to be here. Excited to talk sports. Something you and I talk about pretty much every day. We go back and forth, texting back and forth, all the big news, all the headlines. So now I'm excited to get us going here, talking on here, send it out to the world, see if anyone likes us, see how many people hate us and got to ridicule us, but it's all good. So we're excited to be here, excited to get this podcast going, and we're going to jump right into it. We're going to start with our top 5 NBA moves this offseason. And number 1, the biggest talk of the town. First it was Jaylen Brown, now it's LeBron James, and that is the moves the 76ers have made this offseason have been incredible. I think that starting five is going to be one of the best in the league, especially in the East. Um, so they traded for Jaylen Brown, they got rid of Paul George, and then they ended up signing LeBron James as well. Um, with that, what do you think, Taylor, is just like the biggest, most important thing to that team's success? Like, do you think they need a little more depth, or do you think like that starting five should just run the table in the East? What are your thoughts?
I think the starting five definitely has the chance to run the table in the East. I mean, it's pretty loaded with Maxey and Edgecombe, and Brown, LeBron, and Embiid if he's playing. So we don't know how much he'll play, but as long as he's healthy for the playoffs, it should be good. And it'll be interesting to see how they get all like the who's going to handle the ball the most, or who's the main alpha and stuff like that. Are they all going to be able to get along, and everyone's going to have their moments? Like this is Maxi's quarter this quarter, then LeBron gets the next quarter. Or it's going to be really interesting to see how they do that kind of thing. And I think their depth is plenty good, as they just signed Contavious Caldwell Pope too. So they'll probably get one or two more veterans that were bought out or something like that, because who doesn't want to go chase a ring with LeBron and see what happens? So, what do you think? You think they have any weaknesses on the squad?
I think just the bigs. The bigs worry me, like the big depth worries me a little bit. I
Yeah.
think if they signed like a nice athletic big would be good. I don't know too much about their backup center. I'm blanking on his name right now. But like if Embiid can stay healthy, I think that's going to be crucial for their success because LeBron does well with having another big alongside him being on the floor. So he can work a little more perimeter game. He can post up if he wants to. Embiid can stretch the floor too, so that helps a lot too. But the biggest thing will be his health going forward. But yeah, those young guards are going to be so good. They're going to be so tough to
So
stop.
fast.
Yeah, they're so fast. They're so athletic. All three of them can score, so it's gonna be fun to see kind of what their offense entails. I know you sent me um, a stat about usage ratings in the NBA.
Mhm.
It was like Maxi, Edgecombe, and Embiid were all up at the top of that list, like in the 30 some percent. So just like in the top eight of the league, all in the same team, which is wild. And then
So it
LeBron is on
equaled
there.
way over 100%. That's for sure, and that's that's concerning when you're way over 100%,
Yeah,
because that can't happen when you're all together. So
yeah. So like having that, and then now you add LeBron, who he needs the ball a lot. I shouldn't say needs the ball a lot, but he's going to have the ball a lot. He's going to be facilitating,
yeah,
operating the offense. So um, it's gonna be interesting to see kind of what they do. But that's easily the number one move of the off season. Two moves, I should say, of the off season is getting Jaylen Brown, adding him to that ring. Even without LeBron, that's probably still the number one team in the East. I'd say like before they signed
yeah.
LeBron, they're still competing for number one, maybe top two, top three in the league, just depending how injuries and all that stuff goes. But adding LeBron just instantly boosted, like their title odds went way up as well. So I should say down in the betting world, but it's just
Yeah.
it's gonna be a fun team to watch. So that's easily the number one team right now, number one moves of the off season, as we like to say. So we'll get into the rest of those. We have a top five for moves this offseason. But do you have anything else you want to add, Taylor, to the Sixers? What do you think? Do you think they need anybody else, or do you think they're pretty set and they'll be good to start the year at least?
I think they'll be pretty good and set to start the year. And I don't know if when you were trying to think of the backup big, or were you trying to think of Dean Wade? Because they signed him, who's a versatile. He can play like 3, 4, 5 in a pinch type of situation. So
Yeah,
that's at least somewhat of a backup big man for either spot. You don't want him as your starting center for too long, but I'm sure you can fill in for Embiid for a couple games. And yeah, I don't think they'll be getting swept by the Knicks in the second round this year, anyways. That's for sure. So I'm excited to see how it all goes though when they start playing together.
yeah, I agree.
But what,
Even their team they had last year, they beat the Celtics, took care of business there, came back on them.
yeah.
I think Paul George had a really good series against them, which they got rid of him. But you got Jalen Brown to the mix and LeBron, you're going to be just fine in the playoffs. And LeBron's he's old, obviously, but he's still can do a lot of things on the basketball floor. We just saw it against the Rockets in the playoffs. He came out
Mm,
and I wouldn't say took over because Rui had a really good series that series as well. Marcus Smart had a really good series. Kennard got hot a few times, so like the other guys stepped up, but LeBron was still putting up big numbers and just dominating the game, which is crazy to see. As a was he 41 now?
yeah.
I think he's 41. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Turned 42 in December, which is crazy.
yeah, he's gonna do exactly what he wants to do. Don't matter. But
Yeah.
I'm blanking on the big. I think I can't exactly remember. It wasn't. I know it wasn't Dean Wade. Dean Wade was. He'll probably be like back up to LeBron or like come in be one of the
Hmm.
first guys off the bench because he can stretch the floor. Really good shooter too. I
Yeah.
think he's like 6'9" too, so
Yeah.
that helps. But so he's kind of like a forward, but he's probably plays more like a perimeter forward kind of thing, more spot up shooter kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
For
I think it
sure.
starts with the B. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we'll figure it out eventually. But anyway, let's get into what we think is the second biggest move this offseason. This one's a little bit more controversial, I'd say, but I'm I'm gonna go with the Timberwolves trading for Lamelo as the second biggest move of the offseason, just because Lamelo he's still pretty young. He's been like in the league for like 6 years, I think. So adding him, like he's definitely a star player in the league. Just
Hmm.
2 years ago, he was averaging 32 a game, something like that. So he was over 30, I remember. And it talks of being the MVP of the league. So he still has all those skills. He's, in my opinion, he's one of the most skilled basketball players in the NBA. Just pure talent. I mean, his handles, he can finish in various ways. He can get to the basket at will, and he's long. He's 6'7",
Yeah.
and
It's
people
tall.
still can't slow him down, which is incredible. But yeah, just adding him, and then you have Ant as well. Those two, McDaniel's is still there too. So I think just those guards are going to be really good, kind of similar to Sixers, where their guards are going to kind of just carry them, lead the way, and then the bigs just kind of fill in, defend, rebound, just kind of do what they want. But I'll kind of push it over to you. What do you think about this move that they made? I know they got rid of Nas Reed, which is a pretty big hit. What do you think? Do you think that they got better with this from the offseason?
I would I would say they probably got a little bit better, but it's hard when you lose because they obviously traded Julius Randle away to the Brooklyn Nets this offseason too. So they pretty much lost the entire depth chart of their power forwards. So but that means they can just go nice and small and put Jaden McDaniels at the four spot if they want to get even faster and more shooting on the court, and then just have Rudy Gobert probably get every rebound possible and maybe average like 15, 16 rebounds a game because he's going to need to do that with playing with four guards or three guards and then Jaden McDaniels at the four. So, but it'll be fun though because I mean LaMelo Ball won't have the spotlight on him as much now and won't have to have the pressure of doing everything when you have to play next to one of the best players in the league and Anthony Edwards. That'll take a lot of pressure off him. And he won't be needing to shoot 14 threes a game or whatever he did in Charlotte because he would shoot a lot there, but he definitely won't need to take as many or at least have better looks when he is taking 3 pointers when he's not the main focus for the defense. So I think it's going to be a good fit. It'll be definitely up and down the court and fun to watch those two together. Because as you said, Lamelo's he's talented, that's for sure. And you never know, go for a triple double any night with his size, and he's fun to watch. So I'm excited to see that fit there. And they
Yeah,
were a team I wouldn't have been surprised if LeBron would have chose to play there because that would have been a pretty fun fit seeing LeBron go up and down the court with those guys. Like, and they needed a four, so that would have been almost like a perfect fit to put LeBron in right there. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see the new look T Wolves.
yeah, yeah. It's going to be like you said. You said they're going to get up and down. They're going to be fast, athletic. Um, Living here in Charlotte, I've seen plenty of Hornets games the last couple of years. I mean,
Hmm.
that's exactly what they did. Melo pushing the ball in transition, getting the ball ahead, alley oops, dunks all over the place. I mean, those guys, they were actually really fun to watch this past year because they had so many good athletes on the floor, and then Khan just added another element to that team too, which was really cool. But I think Lamelo's going to do the same thing he just did with the Hornets. Sometimes he may shoot you out of a quarter, may shoot you out of a half, but he'll get it figured out. He likes to shoot the ball quite a bit sometimes, but
Yeah,
it'll happen. It happens. You know, some of the best players they got to take the most shots. You know, so those are the only guys allowed to shoot some of the types of shots that they're allowed to shoot. So
yeah,
and for good reason. Like we said, one of the most skilled scorers in the NBA. So uh,
yeah.
that's going to be a really fun team to follow this year. Um, Contending in the West, I'll kind of put you on the spot a little bit here. Where do you think they would fall in the playoffs? Do you think they could be a top half of the team, top half team in the playoffs, or do you think they're kind of just pushing very end of like the 6 through 8 seed somewhere in there? What do you think there?
It'll be interesting because I think the Western Conference has definitely gotten a little bit worse this past off season with no more Kawhi and LeBron going east, and some teams like the Nuggets really haven't done a whole lot because they're pretty strapped by the salary cap. So I think, and they finished sixth last year, so I don't see them finishing any worse than sixth place for sure. I think they could maybe hop the Rockets and Lakers and maybe even the Nuggets if they get some good production from their forwards, or if they find even another forward in the rest of the offseason. Because I know they're kind of rumored to Jonathan Kaminga as well, so that could be an athletic, bigger guy to get in there and fill a role for them. So I think they definitely could be top five for sure. Like 4 or 5, I could see that. What about you?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think they fall right in there. I don't think they'll like record wise, regular season. I don't see them surpassing or staying even with like the Thunder or the Spurs this
Mhm.
upcoming year.
Yeah.
I at the most I could see them sneaking into like the third spot if they all stay healthy and they're just clicking right away because it's gonna take a little bit for them to all kind of figure out each other on the floor too. But I think if they can get it together early in the season, they could push for that. But yeah, like a 4 or 5 seed somewhere in there, they're gonna fall. We got to remember the Rockets are still pretty much reloading that team that they just had, and
Hmm.
they kind of fizzled out in the playoffs. There didn't look the greatest in the playoffs. Um,
KD was banged up at the end of the year too, so that never helps.
yeah, yeah, one of the best scorers ever to play the game. So
Yeah.
a healthy KD is obviously going to help a lot. They have a lot of young talent there on that team yet too. If some of those guys can
Hmm.
take some bigger roles this year, they can step up. But yeah, for the Timberwolves, it's definitely in that like 3 to 6 range. I think they could fall this year. Like you
Yeah.
said, the West is not quite as strong this year either, which is opens up the door for them and some other teams that are kind of just sitting on the edge, trying to at least make the conference finals and get a little further. So
It
um,
opens up the door until you have to face the Thunder or Spurs in the playoffs, anyways. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. So it's going to be just seeing like Ant. He can take over games. He's
He's
incredible,
so fun to
but
watch. Yeah.
yeah, but he just hasn't quite got over that hump yet. Like he runs into the best team in the playoffs, and then they just can't take care of business. But I think this year this could be a big step forward for them. Maybe they get Western Conference Finals and try to push one of those teams. Maybe they'll get lucky wherever they fall in the playoffs and try to push one of those teams in the Western Conference Finals, which would be sweet. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely our number 2 spot right now. I think that's one of the most intriguing teams to follow this year. So we had Sixers at number 1 for the best moves this year or this offseason. And then Timberwolves at number 2 with that LaMelo trade. And then number 3, the news that saddened both of us as Bucks fans. Giannis goes to the Heat. I'm I'm not mad at Giannis by any means for going there. It's definitely just it was just time. He's been with the Bucks for 13 years. So we had 13 awesome years,
Hmm.
best 13 years of watching Bucks basketball you can imagine. So
In our lifetime,
yeah,
anyways.
in our lifetime, so in the last 30 years, pretty much that we've been
Yeah.
watching Bucks basketball, um, definitely sucks to see him go. Sucks to see him play for somebody else, but I am happy for him in a new place where he can just be himself again, not have all these rumors floating over his head. He had a lot of injuries too these last couple of years since they won the NBA Finals. So that's been kind of frustrating to see, even just for him. It's been frustrating to see him having to deal with all that stuff. And then the coaching changes, which we're not going to get into the Bucks coaching changes in this podcast, but um, the whole bunch
Save
of
that
stuff
for
that
a
he was
later
going
one.
through. What's that?
We'll save that for a later podcast.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Bucks plenty on here, so we won't get into that today. But Miami Heat. So what do we think? Would they got Giannis, picked up Giannis, but they traded a haul for Giannis. Like most of their role players are gone, um, but they have Giannis and they have Bam. So I guess their front court is established. They're gonna be one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant front court in the league. But what are your thoughts? What do you think they? I kind of know a little bit what you're thinking, but what do you think they could do to make that team a little bit better, even though they did pick up one of the best players in the league?
Yeah, it's a tough one to think about because they obviously got better on the top end of the roster, but when you lose three, four guys that were playing key roles for you and you were barely a 10th seed last year, it's pretty hard to make that big improvement when you lose four guys like that. But getting Bobby Portis in that trade, that was probably a big move for them because he's a shooter, and that's what they need most around Giannis and Bam is some shooters to give them some room to operate. And then the signing of Tim Hardaway, that was a pretty big one as well because he's one of the best shooters in the league. So I think they made some good moves, but they definitely could use some more moves. I don't know what exactly is all out there in the market right now, but there's always some trades happening, and these NBA teams get so creative to find ways to help out their superstars. So who knows what moves they have up their sleeve? I know DeMar DeRozan is a popular candidate right now. I think he's about to get bought out, but he doesn't really give you outside shooting, so I'm not sure exactly how much that helps. But and then I almost kind of forget Andrew Wiggins is still there. He's like went from being talked about so much as being the next superstar, and then he kind of got in the league and not necessarily fizzled out. I mean, he still scores 15 to 20 points a game, so there's nothing wrong with that for an NBA career. But it'll be interesting to see how they all fit in there together with not much shooting, but they're going to be really good on defense, that's for sure, with Bam and Giannis protecting everything at the rim and that Davian Mitchell and Wiggins being athletic on the wings. Like I think they could be pretty fun to watch. So it'll be interesting to see what other moves they have up their sleeve. And then obviously Eric Spoelstra's still there, so it always helps to have one of the best coaches in the league, maybe one of the best coaches ever with his track record. So it'll be fun to see.
Yeah, that's a good point. I completely forget Spolstra is there.
Hmm.
He's been one of the best coaches in the league since he became a head coach. So having him
Yeah.
is definitely going to help. I mean, he's pushed that Heat team the last how many seasons to playoff contenders, or at least trying to squeeze into the playoffs, even though they didn't have much on the team to get them there, or they've been banged up. A lot of seasons they've been banged up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, just like Tyler Hero was a great basketball player, but having him as your main guy for going into the playoffs and as the main guy in the playoffs um, can be a struggle, I'd say, because teams they can kind of take away that off the ball guy, get physical, try to hold them on picks and all that kind of stuff too. But the teams that he was able to produce solid solid outcomes all the time with them. I think it was impressive what he can do as a coach. But yeah, the like Tim Hardaway, he's going to help with their backcourt. They still have Davon Mitchell; he'll be solid. And then I have no idea who's in the market. I didn't even think of DeRozan either being available out there. Wiggins, you forget he's on the team, like you said too, which is crazy to think about. Um,
A good name that could possibly help if the Mavericks either buy him out or decide to trade him for something would be Klay Thompson. That'd be a fun little addition to put out there on the wing and just let him shoot it. So that I mean he's getting old, but he can still shoot it. So that'd be a good
yeah,
addition.
that's what they need. They need somebody who can shoot the ball because we
Yeah.
know Giannis ain't gonna do it. Every once in a while he can do it, but Not very
You don't
often.
want that
So
to happen though.
no, you don't. You want Giannis to use his strengths and just
Yeah,
dominate on the floor. So,
yeah,
but yeah, so that's. I don't know if you have anything else for that conversation, but that's definitely our third biggest move of the off season in the NBA. We'll move on to four. This one's a little kind of a toss up right now because it's not official, but Kawhi going to Toronto. I think I think that works out for both of those teams, but obviously
definitely.
Toronto being like borderline playoff team in the playoffs, like trying to sneak into the playoffs the last few years. I think adding Kawhi elevates their game. Obviously, he's getting up there in age too, and health wise, it's been a struggle lately. But I think if he can get healthy during the right time of the year, I think that Toronto team could be really good with him. Um, but I'll switch it right over to you. Just what are your thoughts? Just initial thoughts with Kawhi going there, and we'll just kind of stick with the um, how that helps Toronto for now, and then we'll get into the Clippers right after that.
Yeah, I mean, Kawhi had probably his best year probably ever as a Clipper last year with the amount of games he was able to play, and he scored almost 28 points a game, which is it's a pretty good season when you can average 28 a game. So I think he'll slide in well. I didn't even realize, or I guess I forgot the Raptors were a fifth seed last year, so they were better and more talented than I guess I gave them credit for. When I heard they were making the move for Kawhi, I'm like, really, I think that can put them over the hump. But I mean, I guess they're closer to that than what I thought. I mean, it's tough when you get rid of Brandon Ingram. He's a pretty good scorer for them, so that but Kawhi will obviously fill that in. But it'll be interesting with if the move ever even becomes official, or if Kawhi's suspended, or what happens with all that. But I think they definitely think they maybe move up a spot or two in the East to like the 3 or 4 seed for sure. Maybe jump like the Pistons and Celtics with this move, but it's all going to come down, as it's easy to say it comes down to health, but that's definitely the big thing with Kawhi is how many games are you going to get out of him. So, but if anything, like if golf last year, that was a really good season. So it was a good move. And then he obviously is loved in Toronto for bringing them the championship before already. So it'd be kind of a fun little, not necessarily homecoming, but a second homecoming because he started in San Antonio. So, but it'll be good for him to get back there. I think it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always forget how good the Raptors actually were getting into the
Yeah.
playoffs last year. But I mean, they have Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, Dickey plays a decent role in that team.
And RJ
RJ
Barrett.
Barrett, RJ
Yeah.
Barrett's there too. So with Kawhi adding Kawhi, they would still have RJ. They'd still have Scotty Barnes on there. It's just gonna be the main three guys on that team.
Hmm.
Um, but I think with him just adds a whole new element where he plays both ends of the floor. I mean, we saw him in the All Star game when those guys were actually playing, go off for however many, like 30 points, 30 straight points, which is insane to do.
Yeah.
Against a bunch of young guys too. He went out there and performed and showed what he can still do, which is awesome to see. But yeah, him to Toronto would be awesome. A nice little homecoming. He wasn't there very long, obviously, but won a championship for them. So bringing him back, I'm sure a lot of Raptors fans are excited to see Kawhi come back in there. And I think you lose like a decent bit with Brandon Ingram leaving. I'd say, just he's had some really decent years. I'd say,
Underrated for sure.
yeah, like doesn't get much hype, but he's just still so smooth, such a pure like scorer in general. Um, but I think we switch gears a little bit to the Clippers and what they've done this offseason because they're kind of part of this being in our top four here. The quiet trade was huge, but I think this is also a big move for the Clippers because now they've added Brandon Ingram, they've added Grady Dickey, and then I'm just going to list off a couple other names that they've added and are keeping from last year. Keaton Wagler, they just drafted, which I think he's going to be very good for them. I think he
Good
can
pick.
fill a role right away. I think. What are your thoughts on Keaton? You probably think he can fill a role right away too.
Yeah, that was a good pick for sure. And he's another one of those bigger guards that can kind of do a little bit of everything. And yeah, Brandon Ingram sneakily scored 21 points a game last year. Like that's no slouch at all. So it's a really good addition. And when you can add him and future draft picks and then Grady Dick, I think that was a good smart move for the Clippers that weren't going anywhere is currently constructed, and they obviously moved on from Harden already, so that was good. And then I mean, Brooke Lopez is like the old man in the room still, but it's always good to have a good veteran presence there.
Love Brooke Lopez over here. Big Brooke Lopez fans over here.
But yeah, I think that was a good move. That was one of those good moves on both sides that I can see both sides being really happy with how that turned out. And it's hard to project what a pick in 2033 or whatever it is gonna it's gonna turn out. That could be a high pick, it could be a low pick, no one
Hmm.
knows. So but I think it's definitely a good trade. And then I know a Toronto Raptors fan around here, he texted me immediately. He's like, Raptors gonna win the championship again. So I know they're pretty excited to get Kawhi back there in Toronto. So it's a good one of those good trades that you like both sides of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And then just a couple other guys that are adding to the Clippers roster. They picked up Rui Hachimura, which is a really good pickup. He played a big role for the Lakers last couple of years. He played really well in the playoffs last year. Um, and then they also still have Darius Garland. They got Benedict Mathurin and Derek Jones Jr. as well. So they have some pretty solid young, really good. I'd say like role players right now, but can step in. And I think that team in general is just going to be a bunch of really solid, strong, like role player type guys. And role players is in like they can still put up 15, 20 points at any given night.
Yeah.
So
They're
a
they're
little
kind of
bit
like
better
kind
than
of
that.
kind of like the Bucks of the Western Conference, where they just don't have a star, but they have a bunch of random dudes for who knows who's going to score 25, 30 that night. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to see how young teams like that pan out. So I think they're set up for the future now for sure though.
Yeah, I think like those teams are so tough to guard because you can't just key in on one guy, and then
Hmm.
a lot of times, as long as you have a good coach, they can just kind of make the entire team work well together, play well together, and make that even
Hmm.
more difficult for the opponent, which is awesome. But yeah, like them and the Bucks, which we'll get into a little bit, um, just the additions that they made. Like you said, there's no big star on the team, but it's a bunch of guys that can go out and play, and it's a lot of guys that's been in the league for a decent amount of years now, so they know how things go. They know how to fill a role when they need to fill a role. They know how to step up when they need to step up. So it's going to be a fun team to watch. I think the Clippers they don't lose in this trade at all. I think both teams, like you said, kind of a win-win trade, which is awesome to see. You don't see that happen all the time, but when it does happen, it's really cool to see when teams are just ready to kind of mix it up, try some new things, try a different roster, or just a couple different pieces. So um, that is our top four for our NBA offseason moves. And our last offseason move, number five,
Moves plural.
moves because they've made a lot of moves. I probably the most moves I'd say easily from any team in the NBA this year. That's
Hmm.
the Lakers. The Lakers roster flip here. Completely just rehauled the roster. They've kept like three guys that actually played last year, which are Luca, Reeves, and Laravia. Um, but just kind of kept those three guys as their core dudes, and then obviously they lost LeBron, they lost Rui, they lost DeAndre Ayton, Jackson Hayes, Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard. Like the list just goes on. Those all those names filled a role last year and started or came off right off the bench as a sixth or seventh man. So losing those guys, um, if you're a Lakers fan, you might be a little bit disappointed losing a couple of those guys. Hachimura, I think, is probably the biggest loss out of all those guys. Losing Kennard
Yeah.
is tough too, just because he's such an elite shooter. It's always nice to have somebody like that, which he proved in the playoffs last year and towards the end of the year for them. And then obviously LeBron, you lose LeBron, but I think it was just his to go, time to go, move on, and then just finish his career somewhere else. Um, but let's talk about the guys that they brought in. They brought in Walker Kessler. They brought in Sandro Mamu. They brought in Colin Sexton. They brought in Quentin Grimes, Kevon Looney, Jaden Hardy, Matisse Thybulle, Zaire Williams, and then they drafted Cameron Carr. So they just brought in a haul of different
It's a
different
long list of
players.
people.
It's a big list. It's not like some of those names you've probably heard of, but most of those guys kind of just fill in the role that most of those other guys have left in that roster. But I guess kind of bring it to you, Taylor. Who do you think is the best pickup they've brought in um, I'd say outside of Walker Kessler, since
Oh
he was
man, that was gonna
he
be
was
my
I don't
answer.
know he's just kind of like their biggest move of the offseason.
Yeah.
But all those other guys, those like role guys, who do you see just kind of making the biggest
Well,
impact on that team this year?
I'm just gonna touch on Kessler real quick, just because
Yeah, go ahead.
like Luca loves to play with a good big man, and that was one of his, I guess, supposedly requests from the Lakers. So they went out and got probably maybe the best one available. I mean, they had to give up some good stuff, but Kessler could be a double double every night guy, protect the rim, and just go to work in the paint for you. So and get big guy for pick and rolls too, as he's one big guy. So I think that'll be a good fit for sure. But of the other ones, I would say Colin Sexton. I think that was a really sneaky good signing for them, as he's versatile, scores 15 points a game, not afraid to come off the bench, and I think it's just what they need behind Reeves and Luca, because they don't really have anyone else behind those guys. So that was pretty important to solidify that backup point guard that can come in as a point guard or shooting guard, and even probably play alongside those guys if they want to go three guards for a little bit and get some more versatility out there. So that's my pick. So what about you? What do you think was the most important one of the others?
Yeah, yeah, the others. Um, I think I'd have to agree with you. I think the just picking up Sexton was a huge get for them. Um, like you said, just to fill that role. Like Reeves had some injuries this past year. Luca had some injuries, so somebody who can come in and fill a bigger role if they needs, if he needs to score a little bit more, he can kind of fill that
Okay.
role. Not obviously to the extent of those guys, but he can do a really nice job filling in there. He spent some time with the Hornets too, but then they picked up Kobe White, so he became kind of that backup point guard role. Um, but yeah, Sexton, I think he's still a really good backup point guard. He can start for you if need be too, but he's definitely like the biggest pickup. Kevon Looney, he can fill in that backup center position. Um, I think he'll be pretty solid for them as well. The rest of these guys are like play solid defense, fill a role, get the ball to Luca and Reeves. Like they're not going to be bona fide scorers or anything like that. But if you can get them to fill a decent role, be like kind of like 3-and-D guys. That's just such a big role now in the NBA. So as long as you can do that, and then those primary ball handlers can do what they do, I think you'll be right. But it's gonna be an interesting team to watch this year. They're gonna be
That's why I think that Mamu sign was pretty underrated, underappreciated, I guess, because he shot 39% from the 3-point line last year on almost 5 attempts a game. So that's pretty good volume shooter right there. And when you play with Luca and Reeves and on the pick and rolls, like you're gonna get plenty of open looks from up there. So I think that was a very underrated signing that could play really well there together. So
yeah, because he was with the Raptors this past year,
yep,
correct? Right?
that's
Yeah.
another
So
good player on that team last year. So
yeah, play top 5 team in the East last year
yeah,
that we forgot about. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I think the Lakers overhaul of players this year will be interesting to watch. But we'll see. Cameron Carr too, out of Baylor, he could possibly fill a role on that team. He's not starting for that team, but I think he could possibly fill in as a backup somewhere on there. Just kind of see how he develops in this offseason here. But other than that, still got Bronny James too. I mean, they still got a
Oh, can't
James.
forget
They
about
can,
him. So,
as long as they got Bronny James, they can make a run, you know. But
will he be in Philly by the end of the offseason?
that would be interesting to see if he stays there. But I do think, all jokes aside, Bronny has some moments. I know when he goes down to the G League, he balls out. I think he's just not quite to that NBA caliber level
Yeah,
where he
and
can
pretty solid
fill.
defender, I'd say already. And
He is, yeah, super athletic. He's very quick. He's strong on defense. Um, I think it's just offensively in the NBA he struggles a little bit for whatever
yeah,
reason it may be. But like I said, he goes down to the G League. He's scoring 25 points. He's going off and just doing his thing, which a lot of guys that fill roles in the NBA can go down to the G League and do that. But obviously, you can just kind of see that he definitely belongs to be there. But yeah, we'll see what kind of jokes are flying this year from Bronny James when he's out on the floor. But other than that, we're going to move on to our honorable mention for NBA offseason moves. And that is our hometown favorite, Milwaukee Bucks.
go
Let's
Bucks.
go, Bucks. Haven't been able to say Bucks in 6 in quite a few years, which
but
It's
we can
not
say that
fun.
forever because they won the finals in 6 games. So
Exactly. Are the best moment of our lives thus far, other than the Green Bay Packers winning the Super Bowl, has got to be the Milwaukee Bucks winning
yeah,
in 2021. But that was awesome year to watch. But outside of that, we're going to talk about what they've done this year. Obviously, they traded Giannis. Um, I think if you're going to trade Giannis, that's one of the best hauls that you're going to get for Giannis. Didn't get a bona fide star, but you still have a guy that was an all star in Tyler Hero, and he gets to come back home to Milwaukee, which is really cool. It sounds like he's excited to come back, which is awesome to hear as well. He spent some time, and obviously he went to Kentucky, left Wisconsin after committing to Wisconsin. He decided to decommit, go to Kentucky. So some Wisconsin fans probably aren't here happy about that still.
hopefully they can
Personally,
forgive him by now. Hopefully they can
yeah,
forgive.
hopefully they forgave him by now. But personally, I thought it was a great idea by him. Great decision to go to Kentucky and be a one and done and get to the league, which was his goal.
Yeah,
So
it
no
worked
feelings
out.
hurt over here. I know you're very similar to my opinion on that. But yeah, so it's awesome to see Tyler Hero is coming back to Milwaukee. I think he's just going to ball out for them this year. He's been over 20 points a game pretty much every year that he's played in the league. So I think this year's going to be no different. I think he comes in and becomes their leading scorer this year and becomes the guy. Especially big shot moments. Who you're going to get the ball to? It's going to be Hero. Um, but other than him, they got Kel Ware, Jaime Hackers Jr., Karis Levert they added, and then Braden Berries, Nate Ament. They also drafted those two, and then those are just some of the other hauls from
And
that
that
trade.
Kasparis
Yes,
Yakachunas, something like that. So
Kasparis.
and
Hopefully, you can become something for them as well. Um,
I always
who's
like getting a big point guard is always a good thing for me. So and he's only in his second season, going into his second season. So who knows what we'll get from him.
yes, yes. So they've made. I mean, this is going to be a brand new roster, pretty much, which is going to be really cool to see. I think I think it could be a very good roster. I think it's very going to be pretty underrated as a roster this year. Nobody's really going to talk about them because they lost Giannis, so everybody's going to think that the Heat are going to be a much better team than they probably will be this year. Yeah, I think the Bucks are going to be very underrated to start this year. They have a bunch of guys that can fill roles on that team. Um, we haven't even brought up Miles Turner still there. Kyle Kuzma
Ryan
could
Rollins,
yeah, Ryan Rollins had a really good year at point guard last year. He showed up, came out of nowhere kind of last year. Had some really big games. I know I did a dynasty basketball league for the first time in my life last season, and Ryan Rollins was my starting point guard the entire year, and my team did really well. So
it's good
um,
pickup.
yeah, I just kind of didn't change my lineup at all, but it worked out for me. But uh, but when I was paying attention to it, Ryan Rollins, he was just balling out, so I kept him in there and start the year. Um, but outside of that, also re-signed Gary Trent Jr. off of his worst season as a Buck, or possibly ever. So we'll see what happens with that. I think there's plenty of guys like
Too.
AJ Green too, still there, but I think there's I think there's plenty on that roster, and I'll kind of let you take over from here. What your thoughts are on this Bucks roster? I know you and I aren't too high on Gary Trent being one of those guys that they kept for this year, but go ahead and just share your thoughts of what that Bucks roster can be this year.
It's going to be interesting to see if they have any more moves coming too, because they got, I think last I saw was 16 players under contract, and you can only have 15 going into the season. So I'm interested to see if there's a move coming up for one of the soon-to-be free agent guys in their last year, like Kuzma. I'd hate to see Jaquez traded already, but I've heard rumors about him because him and Hero are going into their last year of their deal, so it would make sense if you get something of value for them and you needed that roster spot. But I hope those guys are there for the year and maybe can get an extension in place early on for those guys. But I think they got another move coming, so it's gonna be interesting to see because they just need to do something. So and I'm just excited to, as we kind of talked about with the Clippers, just you have a bunch of random guys like Hawkes can score 20 any game. Hero averages over 20 a game, and some young guys like Khalil Ware will be interesting to see what kind of like improvements they can make, getting a bigger role as being a big guy that can shoot and kind of athletic, and the
Yeah,
local Arkansan. So that's always fun to root for
yeah.
the local Arkansans. So,
I didn't even
but
touch on Ware at all, but yeah, I'll let you go keep
yeah.
going in a second here. But Kello Ware didn't really get big minutes last year playing for the Heat. Like, he got decent minutes, but playing behind Bam most of the season. I
Hmm.
think he would be an awesome guy to just let him go, get a bunch of minutes for them early on, and see what he can do because very athletic, can shoot it too. Um, he adds a whole new element to that team, which is awesome to see. Between him and Turner, they have some really good bigs to use and play off each other. I don't think they'll play together, but um, if one is lacking in the game, I think the other one can step in and play a big role as needed. But yeah, go ahead and keep doing your thing here about the Bucks haul that they have.
Yeah. And then one guy would be cool to see them get rid of, and not doesn't sound nice to say cool to get rid of, but I would be okay with them getting rid of Kyle Kuzma, even though he kind of did the dirty work last year when they were struggling and not even a playoff team. He was out there doing what good old Doc Rivers wanted him to do, and he was defending where he needed to, and he was giving it his all. So it was cool to see that from a guy that has been on really good teams before, and he's thought he'd be on a good team in Milwaukee, and things didn't work out quite as he thought they would. But I gained a little bit of respect for him watching him play last year. But he's another guy going into the last year of his deal that would make sense for some contending team, say uh, Sixers or Heat or Nuggets need a little bit more depth or something. Maybe they could figure out some trade for him. But yeah, other than that, like I'm excited to see the rookies with Braden Burries looking so good in summer league. It's only summer league, but it's you're playing against some 2 or even 3 year NBA guys, and you're not just playing against all rookies out there. So it was encouraging to see him play really good, and he maybe had like 2 turnovers all summer league long in 4 or 5 games. So that's just awesome to see, and he shot the ball well. And just kind of one of those combo guards that can play one, play two, play on the ball, off the ball, and I'm just excited to see what these young guys can do. And then Nate Ament, he'll be a more of a project, but he's got some high ceiling, low floor for sure, but definitely a high ceiling as well with his length and his shooting ability and athleticism. It'll be interesting to see what these young guys can turn into. So it sucks when you lose Giannis, but it's and Bobby. Can't forget Bobby because Milwaukee loved Bobby Portis.
Oh
So
yeah,
gotta
love
gotta
love me some Bobby Portis.
gotta keep saying Bobby's name, but. It's a good start to the rebuild for sure. And the picks way out in the future, those mean nothing at this moment. But it was a good haul that they got with 4 young players and several picks in the future. So I'm excited to see who steps up and what kind of role we do with the new coach Taylor Jenkins in town as well. I think it's gonna be a good brand of basketball to watch, even though they may not win as much as we want them to win, just because the East, as I've said before, is just better in general too. So. It'll be a stretch to be a playing team, but I don't think they'll be too far away from the 10 seeds. So it'll be a fun year for the Bucks and something different. That's probably the most exciting part is just having a different brand of basketball to watch. So what
Yeah,
about you? Who are you most excited for, or what are your thoughts on the season outlook?
I think you summed it up really well. Just like in general, those two rookies are going to be really fun to watch. I think if they can get some production out of Nate, I think would be cool. Like you said, he's got some work to do. He's just not real big yet. He's very skilled. He's long. I think he's 6'9" too, as well.
6'10", technically, when he was
6'10".
drafted, they said 6'10". So
Yeah, so really long athlete. I think I'm hoping that they can get him plenty of minutes early on in the season, kind of build that confidence up for him. But yeah, Barry's has played really well. I know, like you said, it's summer league, but all those guys on the floor are either some of the best college players this past season or have been some of the better college players in the past seasons. And they've played G League, they've played on NBA rosters, they've been around the league, they've played pro ball for the last how many years. So it's still a lot of really good, talented players on that floor. So it's really cool to see when your rookies go out there and ball out against those guys. Is awesome. But yeah, I think Barry's. I think he just seems physically, mentally, just mature, and I think he's gonna fill a really good spot for that roster this year, which will be fun. He's also got. I mean, he's got Hero there. He's got AJ Green is there too, so like just some veteran dudes that he can learn from and kind of play behind and build that confidence. I don't think there's anyone more swaggy and confident in the league than Tyler Hero. So I think if he can learn a little bit from him and just kind of learn how he stays so confident as a, I don't want to say undersized, but he's not the most physically strong guy on the floor either, but still can hold his own and do plenty of scoring on the floor. So it's just, they have some good guys to lead that team. I think this year, like you said, it sucks to lose Bobby because I think he's just to have a guy like that. You need some dogs on your team that are enforcers and they're going to go out there and talk their talk when they need to and just physically impose their will on other teams' players. But those are just the type of guys that you need. I don't know who fills that role this year for them. We'll kind of see what happens. I know Gary Trent's got a little bit of that in him. He kind of showed it against the Pacers a couple of years ago in the playoffs.
So
Um,
maybe he'll be back to like 2024 Gary Trent, where he looked like a good role player for you. So
yeah, yeah. If we can get him back to that Pacers series, Gary Trent, I'd be happy because after that series, I was very high on the Bucks the following year until Dame went down, and then Giannis didn't really play much this past year either, so that stunk. But yeah, if they can get back to kind of that level that they were at, they were still a tough out in the playoffs, even with being banged up the last couple of years.
yeah.
So if they can kind of get back to that level in the next year or two, I think that'd be awesome for them. Just to get back in the playoffs this next year would be awesome to see too. But we'll kind of see what happens with that.
Yeah, and you can let us know in the comments if we're being too much of homers and too much hype for our local Bucks team. But we're pretty
I'm
excited for the new look Bucks, so
I'm
you'll have
talking
to
up
let us
I'm talking
know.
up the Bucks. I'm talking up the Hornets. I'm gonna talk up all my teams. I gotta talk them up. I don't care what people
That's
think. I'm gonna homer those teams every chance I get out here.
nothing
But
wrong with being confident. So,
yeah, I mean, if we're going that route, then the Bucks are gonna win the Eastern Conference Finals this next year. Get to the
oh,
finals. I'm just kidding. That's
Tyler
not my
Hero
take.
MVP season.
Definitely not my take this year. But I think the Bucks are going to surprise a lot of people this year. I don't think the Heat are going to be as good as people think this year. But if they do get to that level that people think they're going to get to, I think it's going to take a little time, especially with the moves outside of Giannis, like trying to figure that out. Who's going to fill that team? But yeah, so just to kind of break down those top moves. So our number one move from this NBA offseason was two moves technically, but the Sixers getting Jalen Brown and then signing LeBron James. Obviously, they become the top team in the East right now. Um, they are the team to beat in the East right now, even though the East is kind of loading up this year, which is awesome to see. And then the Timberwolves come in at number two for their move to get LaMelo Ball. I think that's going to be a huge, huge play for them. Um, I don't know if it makes them a contender yet in the West, but I think it's a step forward to what they're trying to accomplish over there. And then number three, we had Giannis going to the Heat. Giannis moving on to the Heat. It's the really big move, obviously, because Giannis is a top 2, 3 power forward of all time, depending on who you're talking to. If it was up to one of us, we'd probably be inching towards number one, but he's just one of the most dominant players to ever play the game. So obviously, that's going to be a huge move anytime he switches teams or gets traded, sorry, for another team. And then at number four, it's still pending. Hopefully, it's going to become official soon. But Kawhi going to Toronto, pending his little investigation. Not going to get into that, but I'm not exactly sure what's all going on with that. But Kawhi going to Toronto, that's a huge move. Going back to where he played and won a championship for the city of Toronto. And then playing off of that, the Clippers too did not drop. I don't think they got any worse from that trade. Um, they added a bunch of different guys this offseason too, so that's kind of our number four top NBA moves are Toronto and the Clippers, both kind of coming out ahead on that. And then
Good trade for both sides for sure.
yeah, yeah, both those teams they'll be just fine. Trying to move on and get better this year. Those moves will be just fine for them. And then the Lakers. The Lakers just completely flipping their roster. They kept their main superstars, which are Luca and Reeves. Brought in Walker Kessler, and then Added some other guys, like we said, Colin Sexton should be fitting in there just fine. But that they come in at number 5 for our top NBA moves, and then our honorable mention, the Milwaukee Bucks. Of course, we gotta homer them a
The
little bit
Bucks.
on our way out. Bucks in 6 always, but they got some really good players out of that Giannis trade, and they signed a couple guys too, which were some pretty decent moves as well. So we'll see. I'm pretty confident in the Bucks. Obviously, Taylor is as well. So we'll see kind of what they do. We're always optimistic as Bucks fans. We've had to deal through a lot of rough off seasons and seasons. So anything that looks promising, we're going to appreciate it and we're going to hope for the best. So one last thing that we're going to touch on, just to finish this up, our number 1 seed from the East this past year hasn't done anything to make their team better and get over the hump this upcoming year, and that is the Detroit Pistons. They were the number 1 seed by far, kind of just dominated all regular season, and then they looked okay in the playoffs. Obviously, I mean, they struggled in both
Barely
rounds.
got past the Magic. Yeah, they had
Yeah,
to go
and I
seven
mean,
games.
the Magic were definitely banged up going in before the playoffs, and they kind of got healthy at the right time. That's a really talented team too that we
Hmm.
haven't talked about. I'm sure at some point we're going to talk about them, but yeah, they struggled to get out of the first round as the 1 seed, and then they went to 7 games, correct, with Cleveland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both
so
games, both series were seven. Yeah.
yeah, so they go play 7 games against Cleveland, end up losing to them, and then Cleveland just kind of gets smacked around by the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. But yeah, so the Pistons have not really made any moves to get themselves better. Like they got rid of that, or not got rid of, but they don't have Isaiah Stewart anymore, who's kind of that enforcer type when he was on the field or on the field, on the court. But losing him, lost Tobias Harris. I can't remember.
Mm.
Was
The
there
the
another
one
one that
guy
they
they
lost?
did bring in, what's that? Sorry.
Who they bring in?
The John Collins was about their only addition so
Okay,
far, and he was solid, but not any better than Tobias Harris. So it's
yeah,
a lateral move there for sure.
yeah. They just haven't made a splash. I don't know if they're just waiting to hope for something before the season or what they're trying to do, but there's a lot of really good talented players that are already moved on and going somewhere else. So they're not going to get those guys, which sucks if you're a Pistons fan because you guys have been struggling for a long time and now seemingly they don't want to make any moves to get significantly better and make that next jump.
And they don't even want to extend their 20 and 10 guy Jalen Duren. Like they can't even come to an agreement with him.
Yeah.
So
So he did struggle in the playoffs this past year, but he's still. I saw him play when he came to Charlotte, and he's he's still the guy out there inside in the paint.
he's,
So re-signing him, I think, would be important. And then obviously they're going to keep Cade. He's their superstar. He is not really talked about all that much, Cade Cunningham, but he's definitely one of the best players in the league for sure.
yeah.
I mean, he goes out and he's performed against everybody. So if they can fill some roles around him, that'd be good. Do they still have Duncan Robinson?
I
I
don't think so.
Yeah, I think they might have lost him too, which was obviously their best shooter on the team. But
Oh,
we'll
he's still on the team actually.
is he still on there? Okay. For
Yeah,
some reason, I
so
thought
that's
they
that's
lost
good.
him.
Me too. I thought I saw him on a different team,
That's what I thought too.
but
Maybe it's might have been
yep,
someone else on the team.
he's still there. But yeah, how far do you think they fall in the standings from the 1 seed? Do you think they have a chance to stay the 1 seed, or how far down do you think they go down the ladder?
That's tough. I think at best this upcoming year, probably a 4 or 5 seed, just because they still have Cade, still have Dern. I'm blanking on their point guard or their other guard on the floor. That's a really good. He's a really good on-ball defender. Can't remember his name, but they've kept some of those key guys on the team. I mean, they're obviously the main two are still there, but they haven't made any
Were you
moves. And losing
were you thinking
Harris,
of that Thompson twin? Is that the one you were thinking of?
I was
Do
not
they have
thinking him,
that?
but he needs to
Because
definitely step up.
maybe they think he's got another step forward for sure.
Yeah, if he can make a jump this upcoming year, I think they could do something. I still don't see them getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and making a push for anything
Yeah,
after
I
that.
think
But
they're gonna.
what was
Sorry,
that?
you go. No, you go.
um, I was just gonna say I couldn't see them making a push past the 4 seed. Um, Obviously they were by far the number 1 seed this past year, but Sixers are going to be very good. The Celtics can be very good. The Knicks lost their backup center, and that's it. Um, Other than that, who else in it? The Cavs kind
I
of
think the
just reload.
Celtics will be interesting with if Paul
Mm-hmm.
George can stay healthy. I think they'll still be pretty decent.
So if you run that down the line, you got Sixers, Celtics, Cavs, the Knicks,
Knicks, Raptors if they get Kawhi.
Raptors. So where do the Pistons fall in that? I couldn't tell you, but I don't see them passing those top 4 teams for sure. I don't
Mm.
see them
And we didn't even
playing better
mention
than
the
them.
Cavaliers, did we?
I think I threw them in there as the
Oh, you
four.
did. Okay, yeah,
They probably be the.
yeah,
I can see them. I don't know if they're ever going to get past the 4 seed, but they seemingly are always that 4-5 matchup.
stuck.
Them and the Raptors
Yeah,
just kind of fall in that spot all the time. But
yeah,
other than that, like I mean, the Heat now, Heat have Giannis, so they could sneak in there to that 5-6 seed if they can get some guys around them, or just
for sure.
start clicking really early. I'm trying to think. The Magic, I know we briefly just mentioned them, but if they stay healthy, they're a really solid team. They can be in that like 6, 7, 6, probably like 6 through 8 range.
6, 7.
Six. I don't know if kids still say that or not, but
I don't know either.
you're welcome. You're welcome. We're bringing it back. But but yeah, the Magic, I think they can definitely surprise some teams this year. Um,
And the Pacers getting Halliburton back. That'll be interesting to see. That's the
didn't
thing.
even think of the Pacers.
The East is so good this year. So
Yeah, I think, and now with the Pacers back, I can't remember who they all re-signed this year, but with Halliburton back, they can get back into how they were playing when they got to the finals.
yeah,
So
and Siakam's still really good too. So
yes, yes, to the downfall of the
so,
Bucks,
yeah,
Pascal can still ball. But other than that, we're gonna wrap this up. Um, this has been episode number 1 for the Cleats to Courts podcast. We're gonna sign off here, but before we go, I want to thank you guys for listening. Also, if you like this episode, want to hear us talk a little bit more, ramble on about random sports, we're talking everything from basketball, football, maybe a little soccer will sneak in there once in a while. Taylor's going to be hitting us with some awesome bets and some awesome MLB takes as well. Maybe brush a little bit on tennis if you're interested in tennis or golf. But we're just going to kind
anything
of,
major going on, we got
yeah,
it.
whatever leagues going on, whatever major tournaments going on, we're going to be here. We're going to be talking about it. We're excited to get this thing going, get this thing taken off. But wherever you're listening to this from, if you're listening to on Spotify, Apple Pods, if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're um, seeing us on Instagram or X or TikTok, whatever it may be, try to like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is on that platform. Um, all your help, your feedback is appreciated. We love to hear comments from you guys as well. So feel free to reach out. Best way to contact us is in those comments. Get those things rocking and rolling. Share our content if you would like. But other than that, thank you guys for listening. We are signing off from the Cleats to Courts podcast. Peace.